Guys and girls, and welcome to episode 57 of the F.Reality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in the UK. No, 7 p.m. in Europe, sorry, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Can't believe I messed up the intro. It's the first time I've messed up the intro since we've been doing this show.
Never go on vacation, Mike, again. Never.
Exactly. I feel like it's affecting me. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me introduce you to everyone. First up, this guy is a modern-day Houdini in VR. He loves nothing more than to escape rooms. It's Zimtok5. How you doing, man? You all right?
don't remind me, man. Don't remind me of these escape rooms. Oh man, it's been good. It's been good. I've had just like you. I've had a fallout as a result of my vacation. I realized that both my wife and my computer neither wanted me to go to California. My wife broke some dishes. No, she didn't really. But my computer did break my hard drive. So that's been fun.
But you're getting back on track. Do you feel okay in yourself? You know, you're sleeping okay, everything else?
Oh, no, I feel good. Yeah. The 5 a.m. Beat Saber helped that. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that's the cure apparently for jet lag. Okay, so next up, he's the oracle of VR and also the supplier of pepper nuts. It's Nathy. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm a little sick, as you can hear, but
you need some more pepper nuts.
Yeah. I'm slowly coming back to the YouTubes. So yeah,
the tubes of you. Okay, finally, is it a bird? Is it a lime? No, it's Rowdy on a scooter. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I am fully recovered of my OC5 trip. The first day was a bit rough, you know, because after that Mike got dropped by the plane in London, I still had to wait for 6 hours a layover before I could finally get my trip home. So in total, I was on a plane. Oh, I was traveling for roughly, I think, 26 hours or something that I was traveling. So yeah, that was a bit of a pickle. The first day, because after that I kind of slept the entire day and then I went back to work. So it was actually the second day after OC5 that was way worse than the first one. Yeah, for me at least. But yeah.
Plus, you're just missing your plane buddy, because we were sitting right opposite each other on the plane. Well, you were sitting behind me on the plane.
People were saying that it was planned, but it wasn't really as planned as people thought, because I was the one who changed my. You had the fixed seat, right? You had the seat in the back. And I was like, oh, I'm going to sit in the back as well because I don't like sitting in the front too much. So I was like, okay, I'm going to switch in the back. And I just by accident, chose the seat right behind Mike. So the entire trip was putting my knees in his back.
That's not actually true. He stalked me and he found out what seat I was sitting in. That's a true story. So there we have it. Last but my name is Lise, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about AstroBot Rescue Mission on PSVR. Is this the droid VR has been looking for? We talk about the hype surrounding this third-person platformer. We're also going to be talking about the Vive wireless adapter hands-on experience. Wireless VR is clearly the future, but are these costly wireless adapters worth the price? Well, stay tuned to find out. And then also we're going to be rounding up the show with our Oculus Quest specs. We dive into the specs of the upcoming headset from Oculus and recap on everything we learned back at OC5. But first, let's find out what everyone's been playing in VR this week and their sort of highlight of the week. And let's start it off with Zim to see what he's been up to, because there's a couple of games that I know you've played this week that I'm interested to hear your thoughts about. So hopefully you're going to talk about one of those games.
I got too many to talk about, so I'll say I will dive into one. I've already picked which one that is. Let's see. I got my ass handed to me in Creed by a Finnish 10-year-old.
But at least he's Finnish, you know. He's a Viking, right?
They finished first, you know. Vox Machina was absolutely brilliant. Really having fun with that. I'll tell you, if you've got any tactile transducers or whatever, man, I wore my sub pack and my butt kicker, cranked them up, and my wife comes in. She's like, "Honey, the kids are trying to sleep," and I'm like, "I'm trying to mech, honey." You know.
Priorities,
exactly. Got owned in Firewall because, goddamn it, people know how to play that game now. And the one I want to talk about is Submerged, which is I thought that was the one you might like. I like my VR and real life escape rooms, and it was one that just caught my eye on Oculus Home. I don't know when it launched; must have been somewhat recently. And you start off in a room, and the whole idea is you're basically Jack in the Titanic. You know the bit where he gets chained to the bed? Not that bit, the other bed bit, where he's chained down, and he's like, Rose, get a hatchet and fucking and she's like dinging away, and then the water's rising. That's basically the game as a VR escape room. When I started off, and just to allay any other fears, if anyone takes this as a recommendation, if you like VR escape rooms, it's a good one. It does things that will infuriate you, but when you realize and figure out certain puzzles, and the only thing I have to say is the initial room isn't broken. You'll figure it out. It seems like you start in a room with no way to do anything, and once you figure it out, you'll continue. And that's the way it just keeps going in these like phases, and I really like that. Have not beaten it yet. Did end up standing on my staircase in my room up, trying to like get my head above the water.
Wow,
trying to do that, and I almost fell over in VR, like in real life. I could have broken something. But,
almost a second death in VR happened.
It was fun. Yeah, that was a good one. So if you probably wouldn't have heard of it. It's Submerged, VR Escape the Room. Why they didn't call it Escape Room bugs the hell out of me. But they must be non-English.
I think it's on Steam and Oculus, right?
I think it's available on both platforms.
And I think it's relatively cheap as well. So if you like those kind of puzzle games, but definitely it piqued my interest. And when you said that you were playing it, I was like, yes, finally, I'm going to be able to find out about this game. Because I know you were playing Vox as well, which I'm also very interested to play as well. But Submerged is on my list before Vox. So I'm going to try and check that one. I know. It's like first world problems. We've got too many good games to play.
Exactly, 100%.
So let's kick it over to Nathie and find out what you've been playing this week. And don't say AstroBot.
I played one game, and that's AstroBot, the rescue mission. I haven't played anything else. Well, I did play the lab, too, to check out the Vive wireless adapter, but we're soon going to talk about that. By the way, it's always fun to play the lab. You know, it never gets old. It's great to, be in there.
You said the lab, too.
No, the lab.
The lab.
You played the lab, too.
Did I say the lab,
too?
Also.
Right. I was like, because that's a great game. It's a great game.
For people, that's one of the 3 games that is coming. that would be so nice.
Yeah. I want it.
Next Half-Life 3.
AstroBot Rescue Mission, super fun title. Really want that. Took me back to the good old PlayStation vibes, with the PSVR. And it's a third-person platformer, and as you guys may know, I'm a big fan of that. And again, this is one of those games that really is pushing that genre forward, brings more respect to the table. People are like, "Hey, this is here to stay." It was the same with the other third-person game that recently came out. Moss, and there was another one that was a native pancake game, and they it's with the girl that goes to hell.
Oh, Hellblade.
Hellblade, exactly.
Right.
So there are more and more third-person VR games coming out now that are so good, and this one is next level. You know, they play around with the controller. You have like, it's like a gamepad game, but as you may know, on the PlayStation, the controller is tracked, and there's all kinds of stuff happening around your controller. So your controller pretty much comes to life, and that brings so much like interaction to your screen. So it's really nice. It's super cute. It's so fun.
Cool. So we're going to be talking more about AstroBot later on, but also your other sort of game you played was Mission Recover Nathy with medicine, because you're feeling a little bit ill as well, aren't you? Bless you.
Yeah. So when I came back from Oculus Connect, I was at my uncle's place, and then someone said like, yeah, I'm not sure if I told you, peeps, but I'm sick. I was like, well, maybe you should have told me up front, so I didn't like come in the first place. So then I was like, okay, I'm so screwed. Yeah, and then I got sick.
Everyone like type like Huck in the chat for Nathy.
It's unbelievable.
Feel better.
Lucky me.
So this is what happens when you invite 4 geeks that never leave their house out into the real world. You just can't handle it.
Too much social interaction.
Yeah.
No, like if someone says they are sick and they just gave me a hug or a kiss or something, I'm like, okay, you know what? I appreciate you a lot, but I think I'm going to just, put on like one of those suits from Stranger Things, and I'm just gonna clean everything because I think I'm screwed,
Yeah.
So,
I told this Mike the first year. I mean, I knew about kind of convention flu and convention plague and all that. So part of my wardrobe is that I wear gloves. If you ever meet me at a convention, like biker gloves, and it's part of the trick. It's like I don't have to actually touch you.
Yeah, I think surgical gloves would have been would have gone a bit far, right?
But
do you normally do this?
Tastes like OC5.
But funny story though is that when I went to Connect and I was sitting in the plane, I found out that I lost a piece of my tooth while I was eating. So I was like, okay, now I'm going to have a problem. I'm going to have
next
like
step
some
is
pain,
death.
and I'm at the convention and I can't talk to anyone. But in the end, that didn't happen. But when I came back, and this is a great story. So I went to my dentist, and I told him like, yeah, you know what? I could have gone to the Facebook dentist too, because at the Facebook campus, I got a tour there. They had a dentist that I could go to for free.
Wow.
And it's like, whatever. It was a great story, but he didn't believe the whole thing. I was like, it's like
making it up.
Facebook as a dentist, people. I'm not joking. If you work at Facebook, you can go to the dentist there. You can go to the hairdresser there. You can eat ice cream there. You can go to an arcade.
Because they want you never to leave.
Exactly. Yes. It's the evil corporate efficiency side. It's like, you don't need to leave the campus. Just go over here.
You don't have to.
Back to work.
You don't have to.
We need like a flashlight on the Zim when he says that. You don't need to leave here. You can just go over here.
It's funny. Everything that happens in Silicon Valley stays in Silicon Valley. That's how it felt like after.
So your tooth stayed in Silicon Valley then, right? Nathy.
Well, I don't know where the rest of my tooth went. That's a good question. I don't know. Okay. It was just gone, and then I was like, I don't know where it went. So I think if you really want to know Zim and you want to go into detail, I think I just ate it or something. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Happens the best.
So let's find out what's happened to Rowdy this week then. Have you lost any teeth, or are you sick, or are you okay?
Well, I mean, I almost did when we went like on a little scooter and I was like trying to film the entire thing with one hand. I almost lost a couple of teeth there as well, but I didn't see Mike like doing any like crazy stunts. He was just like with his 2 hands on the wheel and be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Yeah,
that's because I saw the bruises that you had when you came off yours last time. So I was like, no way am I doing that. Especially like in America, like injuring yourself or breaking an arm is a really bad idea because you have to pay for it over there. Whereas, it's not like over here where you can just dick about on skateboards and stuff and just roll into the NHS like, oh, I broke my arm.
I got travel insurance. I'm not worried about all of that.
Yeah.
But what I did this week, actually today, since I'm only just back from a train trip, I went to First Look Festival in Utrecht, which is a gaming festival where I got invited by the people from Vertigo Games, who was so nice to help me out with the trip, and then I got to try out their Arizona Sunshine arena experience. So it's like the same thing that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, right? Because you did it as well, Mike, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was at Gamescom. Yeah.
At Gamescom, yeah, exactly. It was a blast. It was actually the DLC level, but then modified to like fit to the arena experience. Actually, it was the original one that was the arena experience, and they later modified it for the ones that I played on the HTC Vive, which is in my regular room scope, because certain things just would be maybe like too long or like wouldn't work as well in the arena experience as they do with just the teleporting.
Rocket Launch DLC?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
Please tell me it was disappointing, Rowdy.
No, it was cool.
Damn it! Damn it!
And because, sorry, go on.
Yeah, the thing is, like, what I liked about it was, again, that you got to play with other people together. It wasn't as precise as I would say as, like, the Dead and Buried kind of experience, because you had like all the objects in the Dead and Buried experience there as well. But then again, like the graphical quality of Arizona Sunshine is just like on like a higher level. I don't even know if they're able to bring something like that to the Quest. I did talk to them. They were very excited about the Quest as well. But I don't know if they'll be able to port the title, because it's already such a graphically intense game. That I don't know if they'll be able to port that one to the Quest as well. I mean, fingers crossed.
Cool. And like, did you really enjoy the parts where you're on different platforms, or when you go in lifts and stuff in that area? It's just so good.
Although it didn't really, because did you say like the platform vibrated for you?
No. That was in the Void.
Only in the Void, yeah. Because I mean, I did have that feeling, especially when you need to like jump like over the bar. Yeah, because there's like a little gap there. So I mean, of course I knew that there wasn't like a gap there, but it's so much cooler if you go with that and you actually like jump, because it gives you that feeling of like, oh man, I'm really somewhere else. I really like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
How would you compare it to the Void? Because did you try the Void at OC5?
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, the Void is still on a different level just because of the precision of the tracking, all the peripherals that are around there, because of like the heat and like the the wind and the hand tracking as well that you have in there. Since I played it together with Kaz and Cherry, or in the chat as well, and at a certain point I took like Cherry's hand and started like dancing with her, but it looked like hilarious because I was like dancing with like a stormtrooper. Like, it was freaking hilarious to do it. And then we got to pick up the guns, and you hold like a real actual gun in your hands. It feels more finished, but this is something that is more like an arcade level kind of experience than something you could try. I can still imagine if you have a large house, a large room where you can do virtual reality, I think you could still play the Arizona Sunshine DLC in an arena way. For sure.
I think the best thing about Arizona Sunshine LB edition is that you could set that up anywhere relatively cheap, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Void takes a bit more, work involved.
The only thing they were complaining about a bit was just the time it took in between sessions, because they had to like reboot the entire thing and like restart, recenter, and all that kind of stuff. So it would be nice to see that kind of stuff also made easier for them. Like I don't think they can do that. It's something more that has to do with HTC and the Vive. But that is what they said that they found so impressive with the Quest, because that was literally, you took the headset, you put it on, it scans the environment, and bam, you're playing virtual reality. Well, there it still took like 4 to 5 minutes each time that a session was over to like restart it, to like recalibrate everything, and to make sure that everything was right for the next group.
Yeah, and I take it they were using Vive Pros and the wireless adapters as well, because that was my first.
No, they were not using the wireless adapters. They were using the backpack with the PC.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting, because
at Gamescom
they were using the Pros with wireless adapters.
Yeah.
No wireless
okay.
adapters.
Were they maybe sponsored by like a brand there? That's why they use backpacks, or was it just because of other reasons? What do you think?
I have no idea. I actually didn't ask.
And you said you had maybe a little bit of issue with the tracking?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have anything with the track. I mean, the only thing I was maybe if I'm critical, the positioning of the other people in the virtual space was not 100%, but that's because they're using, of course, an algorithm to position the other person in the 3D space in your headset. But my own, I mean, the Vive is really precise for your own controllers. Yeah.
really interesting that they didn't go with the wireless adapter route like they did at Gamescom, because that worked flawlessly in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Mike, at least you can play the game multiplayer there.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to play the Arizona multiplayer and you want it to work, then you should go to these kind of events.
Yeah, exactly. IP address input is just awful. But let's move on to what I played this week, and that was Creed. You know, as soon as I got back from OC5, I had the Vive wireless adapter box on my in my office ready to sort of check out. So I quickly got that up and running. We're going to be talking more about that later. But I thought Creed was going to be a good game to check it out. You know, moving around in a little play space, ducking and diving, dishing out some punches and some haymakers in VR sounded a lot of fun. So I checked it out, and I think I recall Zim saying that he felt like it was kind of arcadey, where I was hoping it was going to be more sim-like. But he's totally right. It is more arcadey than you probably think. But it's not as arcadey as I thought Knockout League was. Knockout League, I would kind of akin to like Super Punch-Out, like on the SNES, you know, where you have to really sort of memorize the patterns of the fighters, and then you jab and punch in between the sort of their moves. Whereas Creed, it feels a bit more natural. Like there isn't a set pattern to their fighting style. So you just kind of have to naturally box like you would in real life. So that was kind of
You're talking the single player part of it, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that was good in my mind. I did really like the training montages between the fights.
The training is hilarious. It's so funny.
Like if you don't know, basically like in between fights you have to train for the next one. So they've got like a punch bag where you have to like do it really quickly, and then like Rocky Balboa's like coaching you, like, yeah, you have to punch the bag. And then like you're on a treadmill, like the next 5 seconds you have to run really fast for 5 seconds, and then you've got like the ball, like the medicine ball thing that you're like punching. It's hilarious. You feel like you're in your own like Rocky montage.
It's funny because it only lasts like, you know, like 5 or 6 seconds every training session. Then you're like, okay, you're ready. And it's like just like in the movies, which you see like, you know, like those clips where like the guy is like training and like, you know, running, and then like all of a sudden he's ready for the fight because it's like months later. They really did that really well. I find that hilarious to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I got a lot more positive on this game than I did when I sampled it before. They kind of, if I was to put the kind of threshold of, they kind of brought it to the middle point, I'd say. So it's not as arcade feeling as it used to be, but still some of the, you know, when they ghost your fist. So like your character is tired, but you actually are still punching. Yeah. That's the one design decision that I find. I see why they did it, but it's tough. And I don't know if you found this. Did you play PvP at all? Did you find?
No, I didn't. No.
Because the button mashing in PvP is a little bit annoying. Like I got schooled by a 10-year-old. I definitely did. And doesn't feel good. I was flailing as much as he was, but it was basically just a cat fight. We were just like, you know, like, so I don't know.
Right.
I need to play more, I guess.
And I think overall, like it's a well-polished game. You know, Servios has a great sort of track record of quality titles, you know, Sprint Vector and Raw Data. But it's kind of like, I kind of get the feel of their games, and including with Creed, that I don't really have the desire to go back and play them again and again and again. They're kind of like one-hit wonders for me. And I think the reason why they have that feel to them is because they're mainly an arcade-based company, right? Like they make products for arcade experiences, and that's kind of what it feels like. So although I enjoyed my experience, and I would recommend it for people that want to try out a boxing game, or definitely if they want to get fit in VR, because I was like dripping with sweat afterwards, and I ached for days afterwards as well. But for me, it just wasn't like the game that I was going to keep going back to, you know?
4 nerds in a room. That's all I'm saying.
But talking about the training montages, if you want to check out a funny training montage, go and check out Paradise Decay's video of Creed. Like the first few minutes of his video are him training in real life, and it is just so funny to watch. So
yeah, that one cracked me up real good.
Talking about PD, he now has a PlayStation VR, so congratulations.
Yes. He's been advertising it in the chat.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
All the games that he
played.
The
race is on. Mike, VPD, who will play and beat Resident Evil 7 first?
Oh, I think it's going to be PD. I put my money on him.
Yeah, like there's no way you can beat that.
No. But also, whilst on the subject of boxing and moving sort of into our quick news, Box VR is actually free this weekend. So Box VR is a fun title as well if you're into sort of fitness in VR. The cool thing about Box VR is though you can upload your own musical tracks and really sort of have like a daily workout in there, a bit like Rui Rise on Twitch. But you can check it out for free on Steam and Oculus Home this weekend. And if you like the game and you want to buy it, you get 25% off this weekend as well. So I thought I'd give that a little shout out.
And they actually teach you how to punch. Like they actually teach you some skills about punching in form that actually the boxing game doesn't. So
yeah, and they give you data about how you are working out, and they motivate you to come back every day as well.
Yeah. So Box VR is definitely a title worth checking out, and it's free, so you can go and check it out this weekend. But let's move into one of the first topics of our quick news this week, and that is injections in VR. So this is a cool bit of news that I found this week, and we've all been there. Everyone hates injections, but it's kind of one of those necessary evils. Like they're either there to prevent you from being sick or to help us from getting over sickness. And there was a study by Sansum Clinics in California that found that by giving kids a VR headset whilst they get an injection, the kids reported a 48% noted less pain and 52% less fear of actually getting the injection itself. So that was kind of cool. That was way back in 2017. And then a little bit later on than that, a further study was developed by Ogilvy, Brazil, and Hermes Pardini in Sao Paulo, and they took the concept further by developing their own VR application to tie in with the injection itself, and they call it VR Vaccine. And this is the video that we're probably showing now. And what they do is they use a Gear VR headset to give to the kid, and then they have an application on a smartphone with a mirror, so the nurse can see exactly what's happening in the game in the headset, and then they replicate it in real time. So there's a part in the game where the character is like using a little cotton swab on the arm of the kid, and then obviously the nurse is doing that at the same time and then dishing out the injection at the same time. Now I think this is
VR Vaccine escape the room.
If you do a good job, you don't get a shot.
And I think it's a really smart thing to do because
it's so incredibly smart. Because I posted this on Twitter as well, and I got like retweeted by so many people, since this is like something that not even like kids, like there's a lot of adults that were saying like, I could use this, every time I get because it isn't a fun experience for anyone doing it, but as an adult, you just go like, I just need to just go with it. But if you see this kind of stuff, they did it very smart, because what they do is they first do with the ice crystal that they put on, which is basically just like the rubbing alcohol that they're just putting on there, and it will probably feel like a little bit cold, so they call it like the ice crystal. And then after that, they need to put like the fire crystal on there, which it will sting a little bit, but don't worry, it will only be like a brief second. Like the character actually says that, and then while they put like the fire crystal on, then the needle comes, and you see a kid just like sitting there like, okay. And then in the end, they feel like a hero, because they saved the universe, and like that little short experience they had. It's a brilliant way of doing it, and it just shows the application potential of virtual reality beyond.
And that's the thing, like just being distracted from the environment that's around you and what might happen is a first step. But like they've taken it to a next level here, and I think it's such a cool idea. And I'm fascinated by the uses of VR for like medical purposes. And we've talked about this before on the show, where they've used VR for people actually having full surgical operations. That they couldn't anesthetize people, so they're doing that, distracting them with VR. But I was just wondering, like, where does this go from here? They could take it to another level. Maybe like Nathy, with the dentist, they put like a VR headset in there. He could be distracted and much happier in his little VR world.
All of a sudden, maybe they boot up Resident Evil, and you're like screwed then.
There's already people who have, I can't remember who exactly, there's a content creator who mentioned this, that their trip to the dentist, they use an Oculus Go for the same reason. I've done it for years, where I use in-ear monitors, the type that go in your ear canal, and listening to music, because if you can drown out the sound of like drills or anything nasty that's going on in there, it takes away, your attention from it, and it makes the whole thing way easier.
Allow that? Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no problem with that. Is there? Do they have enough space to actually work on your because it's a big.
Like Go, I don't know. I mean, your mouth is just kind of jacked open, right?
I want to see that, Nathan. Next time you go to the dentist, I want to selfie.
Yeah, wait. Let Zim first do that thing again with his mouth. Like, how did it go again?
No, you're not photoshopping anything. Thank you. No.
Like, how far can they go with this? Maybe like you have to go in for like a vasectomy or something like that.
Dude.
Whoa! I'm never putting a Go on after that. I'm just telling you that. You go snipping down there. No more Goes for Mr. Zim.
I wonder what kind of experience that is like.
know.
But like, imagine where they simulate the same room and it looks the same, but you put on the go and there's like, hey, you, and you're like looking around and it's like, yeah, hey, I'm a tooth fairy, you know, and I'm looking for some juicy toots.
I'll tell you what, the turnover rate in sperm donor clinics would be really increased if they used VR.
Says the one with experience, right?
Yeah, Zim, the porn expert, is actually right in this.
It's so true though, because like think about it, the old magazine trick in like donor clinics, like it's like, come on, he's been in there like 25 minutes, gotta go kick the guy out.
Oh my days. So yeah, like it's super interesting to see where this kind of technology goes, but I think it's a great first step, especially for kids that hate injections. Every kid hates injections, we all do. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool bit of news. Next cool bit of news this week is that if you're a kid of the 80s, you'll probably have fondly called The Princess Bride. You know, I had it on VHS and I watched it like a million times as a kid. But like the really cool thing that happened this week is a group of people in Rec Room actually got together. They're called the Orange Bucket Acting Troupe, and they reenacted the whole movie as a stage show in Rec Room, split into 4 different acts. If you missed it, you weren't able to watch it live, you can watch the whole production, which is available on PSVR Frank's YouTube channel. He managed to capture the whole thing, so you can rewatch it if you want. But they had a cast from all over the world get together to put on this show live for people in Rec Room. And I just thought it was just such a cool little snippet of the VR community doing something really awesome and creative. You know, I love it when things like this happen. You know, we've seen it recently with like the Wave with like Imogen Heap. Like that was a really cool event. We've seen like people, make Shrek in Beat Saber, like the whole movie in Beat Saber. You can play that now. Stuff like this, you know. Yeah, you can play the whole Shrek movie in Beat Saber.
No.
And this kind of thing as well. It just really cool how creative people are out there, you know, and getting together and doing something awesome in VR. So I thought I'd share that one.
Yeah, also like this, I talked to the developers from Rec Room at OC5 as well, and they were even saying that at the moment, their community rooms, since they opened that up to like the community, are actually getting more popular than their actual rooms. And that's a very, very good sign, because that means that the community is putting so much time and effort into making these kind of rooms that they're actually just even better than the rooms that were already available. And I think that's a very, very good sign for virtual reality as well. There are people outside of the developer community that are players and who are playing the games are willing to invest their time and their effort into a game like this. I think that's a great sign for virtual reality.
I mean, that's what also happened to VR chat. You know, like most of the rooms people hang out in has been made by someone. Mm-hmm. If you want to try a fun room, there's one there's Jurassic Park themed, and you get chased by dinosaurs in a forest together with your friends.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
I know.
And what was the one that we saw the other day that was like a Dead Space? They replicated Dead Space in VR chat as well. That looked really cool. Yeah.
Yes.
They've also been doing stuff like that in
design.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I'm just saying, so you're basically giving people tools with that interactivity to allow them to design games or basic game experiences. So, you know,
essentially
starting off with that toolkit, that's great, especially if you're, you know, in your teens and you got buckets of time. Where better to kind of craft your skills.
And just need like Rec Room to come to the Quest now, and wow, the floodgates will really open. I think.
Yeah, it probably will. I'd say it'll work.
It makes sense to do it as well. No.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they don't try. I'd be really surprised. But let's move on to the final bit of quick news this week, and that is Dr. Disrespect. I don't know if you're aware of this guy, but if you're into video games and live streaming, you'll likely have heard of this dude called Dr. Disrespect. He's an iconic Twitch streamer. He wears like retro sunglasses, long black hair, and a beautiful mustache. He normally plays PUBG and Fortnite, but recently he's teased about coming to VR and doing some VR stuff, right? Zim, you're sort of more engrossed in this world. Maybe you can tell us more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've only heard the highlights myself, but Dr. Disrespect's such a fucking huge dude. I mean, with all the tumultuation between all the games he's played and kind of his character live, and then recently people were shooting at his house, and you know what stuff with his wife, all this, like he's always in the headlines in Twitch world. And then this week we heard he's interested in getting a VR racing setup going, and you think he's gonna drop like 20 grand or something to build like the best like VR racing setup and stream it. Like I'd love to see someone do that. I've been doing loads of kind of VR racing over the last year, so you know, I think he should do it. I think a lot of people should do it, but there is definitely a price barrier with the equipment. It doesn't have to be 20K, but there's still, if you're talking a couple hundred for something that you're not really sure of. I mean, when I got into it, I had to sit there and kind of like wait and think about maybe getting the wheel for about a year, actually. Before
actually, Zim, we got Kimberly saying in the chat, isn't that just Zim with a black wig?
You never see them.
You
both
got
in
something
the
to
same
explain now. Yeah.
No, I think it's awesome, especially like bigger YouTubers, bigger streamers, showing off VR, it helps the industry, and the more people that are getting into VR and sharing it, the better, I think, in my opinion. We're all sort of happy for people like that to get involved.
Especially if they drop like 20K on a setup, my days.
Jesus.
Like, he's not just doing it out of nowhere. He must see like true potential in what VR can do. So yeah, I'm very curious.
It could be that like a lot of his audience maybe have never really even been exposed to VR before, so this could be great.
I wonder if he would be interested in playing like Pavlov or Onward too, since he's kind of in that. Did he ever try it? I wonder.
There's been a few kind of high level streamers who have dipped into VR, but they tend to be the ones who are more fringe. I'm trying to remember the name of the lady. Oh my God, it's Firefox. She and her partner at the time had done a few things like in alt space and stuff like that, but they're really only the bigger ones have only dabbled in it or like done a basic thing in a Vive that was gifted to them and then moved on, So a lot of it, I think, has been kind of, here's the carrot and the gerbil's gone for the carrot. But it'd be good. It's good to see this. I don't know if someone's behind it. I don't know if there's a company that's kind of baiting him towards it. If there is, great, because I think, again, when you see your favorite broadcaster trying something out and having a great time, and he brings his character into that, like, I can't wait to see the result of that. And no doubt it'll bring, tens of thousands of people, if not more, into the VR scene, or at least interested. And that's all you need.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I'm interested in checking out some of his VR streams for sure. So let's talk about some releases that are coming next week. We've got a couple of titles for you to check out. First up is Evasion. It's going to be available on Rift, Vive, and PSVR, and it's coming out on the 9th, so next Tuesday. In Evasion, you can get to experience the next generation of VR combat in this intense sci-fi bullet hell shooter. So bullet hell is a bit like Blasters of the Universe, if you've ever heard of that game, whereas you basically have to dodge the bullets in real time. So you have to physically move around whilst dishing out some bullets of your own. And the cool thing about Evasion is you can do this solo or team up with friends and fight this enemy, which are called the Optera. So you can like run, dodge, unleash devastating surge attacks, and fight your way through an action-packed story campaign together or solo, which is really cool. The other cool thing is that they've actually got classes of characters. So, 4 different classes, you get to choose one. So as an effective team to work together, I guess you're going to have like 1 or 2 of, each of those classes. So that's kind of really interesting as well. And from what I've heard, really positive things about this from people that have tried it at events. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out, especially co-op. Oh, you did?
But it's been a very long time ago where they were still in like testing. But yeah, it's interesting. And you can, you have that Overwatch feeling where you can work together and combine powers in a way. Also fun is that this developer made a title called Waddle Home. It's like a super cute ass puzzle game.
Okay.
Just look it up. Waddle Home.
Arcade is great. I really like their stuff, but Waddle Home I've not heard of.
Waddle Home, look it up. It's a funny game.
I mean, to me, this thing on the trailer and all that, it just shouts, I've spent the last 2 years in Space Pirate Trainer. So have my buddies. We need a game together.
Yeah, essentially that. That's a good comparison there, totally. But it's awesome that it's coming across all the 3 platforms. I don't know if it's going to be cross-platform play between the 3 platforms, but at least it's sort of getting a release on all of them, which is kind of cool. So that's one to check out on Tuesday the 9th. Also coming out on the same day is another interesting one, and I'm going to be mentioning Blasters of the Universe again because it's actually from the same developers as that game. They also have an upcoming puzzle game called Transpose, which we talked about on the show previously. But Secret Location are the developers, and they've created a cinematic VR experience based on a short sci-fi story by Philip K. Dick, and it's called The Great Sea. And it's basically set in the aftermath of an apocalyptic event where humanity are ruled by an all-powerful supercomputer called the Great Sea. Now, every year, the village kind of gets together and they force a young person on a pilgrimage to appease the mysterious machine. And these people normally go on this adventure and they never come back. And the Great Sea follows a young girl called Claire, who finds herself in a right old mess because her husband gets sent away on this pilgrimage and she doesn't know what to do, whether she should sort of like, you know, accept the rules of this harsh society or fight against the oppressive powers and go on this adventure.
The whole time I'm listening to this, I'm just thinking it's called the OC, as in the Oculus Connect, and I'm just filling in the blanks as you're telling me. So keep going, Mike. This is a great story.
So so it's more of an experience than it is a game, but it's like a 30-minute long experience. It's rated 18, so it's for adults, which is kind of cool. It's got some violence in it apparently, so I'm quite looking forward to that. Sounds really interesting. It's also coming out on Rift. Yeah, Rift, Vive, and PSVR again on Tuesday. So
is this just one you watch from a distance?
Yeah, so you get in VR and you just kind of experience it and watch it. There's no interactivity there, but it was also at the Venice Film Festival and it did pretty well there as well. So
because I've been saying that. I've been saying it already for a couple of weeks that I think that VR is like a great storytelling medium as well. Like beyond like, you know, the games, all of the games that we all play, but still I think there's so much stuff that you can do with like virtual reality as a storytelling medium. And I think that this is one of those kind of experiences that they might go that route. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm surprised that they went from Blasters of the Universe, that I didn't think was a super crazy fun game, to this, where this is like a total different ball game. So I'm super interested of what this is and how good it is, and where they also put the viewer, of course, and how how they play around with the cinematic stuff in VR.
Doesn't seem too dissimilar to Fated, actually. I don't know how many people played that, but it gives me a real Fated look. Yeah. I wasn't too happy with the way Fated played out, but something in that viewing mechanism I'm totally open for.
I liked Fated. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, we disagreed on that one.
Yeah, you did? How long did it take you to finish? Like 50 hours? It was like a very slow game.
It's like an hour.
Yeah, the walking is slow, but all the rest is actually fairly fast paced because you have like places you go down a river, you have the cart ride that you do, like which is fairly fast as well.
I like the car ride.
So, yeah, the car ride.
No,
was
you're
really
right.
Cool.
You're right. It's
like
a great. No. Like I agree with Rowdy. It's a great experience. It's just that it was so slow that it just killed the whole thing for me. I don't know. Like that's just a patch thing, people. You can just speed up the character and it's done. Then it's nice. I don't know. Did they ever change it? Did they ever patch it?
Didn't go back to
Who even made it?
It didn't finish. There should still be like a Fated 2 because the story is like it's open ended.
Yeah, but who made it? I don't even know the developer.
It kind of felt like episode 1. It really felt like a single episode in like a 5-part campaign, and it it needed more. And I think that's part of my disappointment with it. Was we waited a while for it, it then dropped, and then it was like, okay, it was a bit clunky. Like the characters were clunky in the way they interacted with you. The pace of the game I thought was mismatched. But what it was trying to do, and this I played it before playing Skyrim, like that introduction felt really solid. Was it like Microsoft Studios or something that did it? Because it kind of feels a little bit like Fable. Probably wasn't.
That's how it felt.
It felt like Fable.
I got the Steam page opening.
Frema Studio, and they also published it themselves. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there you have it, like the Great Sea, like I say, coming out on Tuesday. It's rated 18. That was the thing that was really interesting to me because it looks like we're going to get like a proper adult story, like with some...
I thought that Mike was like hoping to see boobs or something.
No. But like what we've seen recently, like with to make a comparison, like Venom, for example, they watered down the movie and now it's being panned because they took out all the cool bits of the movie. And I think, this sounds like it's going to get like some cool bits to pull at the heartstrings.
Let's not start dissing on Venom yet. Like, I haven't seen it yet. Like, I mean, I still want to judge for myself if the movie is any good or bad.
Just making a comparison.
That was the same time when they said The Last Star Wars was bad. I was like, well, this is good shit. So
the same size that we're saying that Hereditary was a good movie.
No. I heard that last Tommy Wiseau movie was great too, Rowdy.
This is not a film podcast. Fucking moving on, Mike. Come on, let's go.
Let's talk about something that we know.
Oh, hi, Dougie.
We know is good, and that is AstroBot. rescue mission on PSVR. We know it's good. Everyone's going crazy about this game right now.
Yeah,
Everyone in VR is talking about
Insane.
AstroBot. It came out on Wednesday, the 3rd of October, and is a PSVR exclusive. And every gaming publication is singing its praises. Even non-VR gaming publications are sort of tipping their hats to this little AstroBot. And many are saying it's like the best VR title ever so far across all platforms.
I always find those kind of things like a little bit dangerous because like once like websites come out with these kind of reviews, it's sometimes hard to like find like or to make like a bad review about it because I'm not a huge fan of like platformer titles in general, so I haven't tried this one yet. I'm planning to do it still this weekend, but yeah, I don't know like what is the I'm waiting for all you guys to like convince me on like why this title is the best title in virtual reality.
So this is one claim, like we'll find out from Nathy if it's true or not. But basically, this guy is saying that even if Nintendo made a VR Mario game, it wouldn't be as good as AstroBot. And I was like, holy crap, that's a super bold claim.
Whoa.
Yeah. So maybe like you could talk about it, Nathy, because like I think you're the only one that's played it out of all of us, right?
But then you need to like Mario games, right?
Yeah, but like,
you need to like Mario games.
But third person platforming games in VR, like, like Nathan said at the beginning, I really like that genre, like Super Lucky's Tale. I was into that. Moss, even more so. Like, that is my favorite third person platforming game in VR.
Chronos, Edge of Nowhere. I mean, there's so many. And it's such a quality experience because immersion is not difficult. And you'd actually think being away from the character that it might be difficult, but it's the same reason why third person works on a flat game. Because you can see your character and you can see the effects of the environment on the character. It's like things like Last of Us and that played that way.
But that's exactly the reason why I think that Moss was such a great title, because it didn't do that disconnection between you and the character. Because you were an actual physical character in the game. You were not playing a third-person game. You were interacting with the. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a concept that I really really like about it. But I mean, go ahead, take it away.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I didn't hype it up that much. It's not the best VR game ever. I don't know what people say about that. That's a bit too much, I would say. It's just a solid title. And yeah, as you guys said, like, it's very important nowadays with platformers that are third person that you also play a role within the story instead of just being some kind of cloud that, flies around. And Moss did that very well. Also, Adventure Time Magic Man's head game was also doing that, where they were talking to you as Tiny the Balloon, and really taking you on an adventure. And in this case, something they did is that instead of where in Moss you look at the reflection of yourself in the water, they have television screens everywhere, so you see you and you can just wave at yourself and do fun stuff. So they interact with you in many ways and also show you who you are. There is just one thing that I did not like about this title, and that is the camera. So in Moss, you follow Quill, and the camera just goes, through the forest itself, and it just follows the character with you. And in AstroBot, they decided to go for a concept where sometimes the camera moves with the little robot guy, and then sometimes it stops, and then you need to like look around corners to see where you go next. And it sounds fun, but it just plays a little clumsy, where you're sometimes like, oh, there's a wall, so let me. Okay. So that's the actual experience I had, and it's a very arcadey camera where if the character moves just a little bit, it's like that. So the camera just goes instantly with the camera with the character. So the camera is not very smooth. It's super arcadey, but the overall gameplay is fun. It's so cute. The characters are constantly looking at you, waving and doing fun stuff. And yeah, you are a part of the story, where you just fly with the little robot guys. And the mission in AstroBot is that you have to save all kinds of little robots, and you can find them throughout the level. And every level has a different team. You go into a forest, you go into a cave, stuff like that, and every level has its own enemies and traps and things like that. And it's a 360 platformer. Now, I don't know why they advertise it in that sense too, because as you guys may know, it's the PlayStation VR is front facing. So I did have issues where I had to turn around, and also with my controller, but then my controller was going all over the place. So that didn't work that well. And you can't, as far as I know, turn around with your thumbstick. You can't do that. So you really need to do it physically. But yeah, it's a cute game.
Yeah. The thing that I often have with, I mean, I played, like, for example, Mario Odyssey, and I know that that Mike did as well. I don't know if you guys actually played that game, because that's the kind of feeling that I'm getting from AstroBot. That's like, it's like a Mario Odyssey kind of thing, but then in virtual reality. And I really like that game, but it's like, I only play this game when I have, like, you know, like, I have nothing else to do and I just want to relax. I play it on my Switch, and, you know, like, I'm sitting in the bed or I'm traveling somewhere. That is when I boot that game up. But what I like in virtual reality is a game that draws me in, and that, like, I go, like, you know, oh, I can't wait to, like, play this again. And I don't really know if I'm going to have this kind of feeling with a platformer title.
One question, because I'm going to put my rowdy hat on for a second, and I'm going to ask Nathia a rowdy question. The rowdy question is, the controller, given it's not a touch controller, you're not using the move controllers or an aim controller. My God, how would that work? Is that a problem? As the controller, did you find it integrated well, or were you wishing for something else?
It has been integrated, like, in such a next level. I haven't seen that before. It's so cool. They constantly play with your controller. So in the intro, your controller transforms into a sci-fi one, and you can, like, look inside your controller, and all the buttons start to, like, go out, and it blows off steam and things like that. So it really comes to life. And as I said before, you need to collect, like, little robots, and these robots, they fly into your controller. And
but sometimes isn't that part based on, like, the PlayStation kind of concept with the DS controller? Because I remember when I saw, like, the first thing, they had, like, some kind of AR kind of thing where you could, like, flick the robots out and, like,
yes, you can. Yeah, you can use your. So they have, like, a touchpad on the top of the controller, right, of the PlayStation, and you can catapult your little robot guys away. And the thing is, like, I've never seen any PlayStation VR game use the controller in this way.
Well, yeah, the original demo did that. The original, are those exactly the same bots then as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Rowdy sold.
Yeah, but yeah, the controller has many features, and it also plays with you. You need to sometimes head bump a wall, and then like, yeah, there are, like, signs that say, like, okay, you need to head bump this. So you're like, okay, yeah, like that, and then you open up, like, an entire new room. But the fact that they just play with that immersion of, hey, I hold this controller like they did in that Static game, it just feel like it's there, and then when a touchpad just opens and there's, like, a little robot, like, waving at you, like, hey, I'm inside your controller, you really start to believe there's like something going on within your controller.
Yeah,
great cross-reference.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, great cross-reference with Static, because Static is probably one of the only PSVR titles that I felt really, aside from Moss maybe, really awakened the gamepad. In other words, it's like, I feel that I'm using the gamepad. It's also a game element. So thanks for answering the question. It actually sounds quite exciting.
It actually shows that this kind of title, like, you know, that there's so much that can still be done that is innovating with the current VR headsets.
It's unbelievable.
Like, because that's something we've been saying for the past couple of years almost. Like that. You know, there's so much stuff that you can do with the current gen headsets that hasn't been done yet, or, like, stuff that we're still discovering. That makes this, like, a really cool concept. Yeah,
it's fantastic. Like, no game had used the gamepad in this way before, and it's tracked, so you can do so many things with it. And on PC, we have the same thing. You know, the lab is out there for developers to explore. We have first contact. We have all. Use it in your advantage, and still, it's funny that it took 2 years for someone to, hey, let's do something with the controller. But hopefully this will be an inspiration for others to also work with that. But this was one of those moments again where I'm like, okay, this is why I want a PlayStation VR. This is why I want to play on this console and not on PC, because PC doesn't have this magic like that. I was like, I wish there was a tracked controller for PC, this kind of stuff really brings it to the next level, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys looking forward to checking this one out as well? Zim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been trying, but again, as I said, never go on holiday or your equipment hates you. I've been having issues with my PSVR box. Not the box for the PS4, but I mean the machine I use to stream. So
right.
never will I go on holiday again. But yeah.
And Rowdy, you looking forward to checking this one out as well?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. I'm just wondering if this is the kind of title that I want to finish, like I did with Moss. Like I was itching to get back into it to see like the story unfolded. So I'm wondering if I'm gonna have that kind of feeling as well, or I'm gonna be like, the first hour I play it and go like, oh yeah, that's a cool concept, and then put it aside and don't play it anymore.
This game, like AstroBot, isn't really relying that heavily on the story. I mean, Moss's story is way
but it could be. It could be different, like if the levels are so interesting, or like the kind of like mechanics that they're using are so interesting that they keep on innovating every level. Like Mario Odyssey. I mean, Mario Odyssey, the story is like, I think every Mario story is pretty much the same, but it's like the level design and like the way that you go about and the mechanics that makes it more interesting, at least for me.
And that critical first Rowdy hour. If you don't catch him in the first hour, he's out of here.
Gone. So the cool thing is that if you like the look of AstroBot and you don't have a PSVR, well, you don't have to choose, because Sony are actually bringing out a bundle of them both, so you can get this like bundle has Moss in it and AstroBot, so you get to play with Quill and this awesome little robot
so smart
together. So
really smart bundle.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
PC companies, please look at what Sony is doing and learn once again.
They're doing some amazing things for sure. But I'm totally hyped about this game. Like I say, I love third-person platformers, so I'm definitely going to get my hands on it this week. And hopefully I'll talk about it more maybe next week and what my impressions were. But let's move on to some get my hands on this week, and that is the Vive wireless adapter, because three of us have it, right? Nathy, Rowdy, and me. We all got it this week. They were sort of here when we arrived back from OC5. I was really eager to get into it. How easy it was to be set up, because I've been using the TP Cast now with the Rift for maybe 5 months now, and I just wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back to a wired Rift headset. So I was really intrigued about how this would perform at home, because I experienced it at Gamescom, and obviously that's kind of a controlled environment. But yeah, to see how it was set up at home was really intriguing to me. So I ripped and got it set up straight away. But before I jump into my impressions of the setup, because I've kind of gone through this with the TP Cast before and kind of knew what to expect, I'm intrigued to see what your guys' impressions of the setup was.
For me, it was that simple. Like I actually recorded as well. I put a video up on IGTV, and I recorded my entire time from like unpacking it up to like my first like boot up of the wireless adapter. And it took me in total, I think, 15 minutes. And that was including inserting the card in the PCIe slot. So it was really, really flawless for me. I had like I see Nate already looking. Well, that was not the case for me.
Did you do a speed run or something?
He's the fastest YouTuber alive after all.
Of course, like maybe I'm not like a very good reference then.
15 minutes. He's literally doing this. You just see him like rip open the door of his cage.
Yeah, well, I did do that though. I mean, it was a bit of a Rowdy unboxing. I literally like tore everything out, like laid everything on the table. Okay, that needs to go in there. Didn't look at the manual at first. Just inserted everything. Then I had to go and look up the manual because I couldn't find it anymore. I looked up the manual online, and then I went through the steps. I didn't realize I had to download an app as well. That was like something new for me, like downloading an app to go wireless. So I did that, and then it went like the first second that I pressed that button, it was detected already. So instant.
Nice. What about you then, Nathy?
Yeah, so it took me, first of all, like maybe 30 minutes to just, do the casual stuff. And the moment I had everything set up, for some reason it didn't want to pair. I don't know how or why. And then I just did some power stuff. I just pretty much rebooted my PC in simple terms. And that fixed it.
Okay.
But it took me about an hour. But I was also not in a hurry.
Okay.
Just like, let me unbox this. Plus, I was cleaning my room. Like, I came back from Connect. It was a complete mess. I got this Vive wireless adapter. I also got like a new BioShock statue that I pre-ordered like 2 years ago that had to arrive at the same moment. So I was just unpacking shit, and then I was working on my Vive wireless adapter. And the next moment, I was doing something else. But yeah, overall, it's it's super easy to set up.
Yeah.
The only thing I do think they should change on the setup side is that they have a manual inside the box. That one is fine. They also have one on the internet, correct? But strangely enough, I had the manual on my monitor, and I also had the same one on my phone. But funny enough, the one on your phone is different than the one on your monitor, and it doesn't match. So I told them about it, and they confirmed that it was different. I don't know why, but for some reason it's very confusing to follow the one on the phone. So if you want to have a pretty straightforward like guide, then use the one on PC for now, I would say, because they have like moving GIFs, of like how things get set up, and that's really handy.
Cool. So it was relatively simple for both of you, and I had the same experience. It took me about 30 minutes, but I was filming the whole thing at the same time, so that's probably can make it sort of last a little bit longer. But what I was pleased about was that after I got it set up, that was it. I never had to touch it again. Like once I set up the TP cast for the first time, which took about the same amount of time, about 30 minutes, then it was like hours and hours and hours of troubleshooting and like changing the firmware up, downloading like open TP cast and basically hacking the device to get it to work.
I would have thrown the thing out the window before I got to actually play with it.
But that's just not the case with the Vive wireless adapter. It works out of the box. Once you got up and running, you don't have to fiddle with any settings. You just basically open up the app, it pairs with the headset, and then you're up and running, and basically you open Steam VR and just play the game.
Most importantly, field of view is exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no difference.
It's a really good point, because with the TP cast, not so much on the Vive, I don't think, from what I've heard, but definitely with the Rift, they crop the field of view ever so slightly on the edges. So that is a bit of a problem, whereas that's not the case with the Vive. And it's amazing that with the Vive Pro, it's pushing that fidelity, graphical fidelity over that sort of connection.
It's impressive.
It's seriously impressive. And I don't know about you guys, have you lost connection or had a degraded connection at any time during your play sessions?
Yes, because I tried to like occlude the sensor, so I put my two hands like on my horns, like this. Yeah. And then I lost it, like it was gone. So
I love that. I put my hands on my horns.
If I did that, I put my hands on my horns, like this. Yeah. Wait, I'll do it again. For the audio listeners, well, you should come and watch us live.
Okay. Okay. And when you did that, what was the effect in the headset?
It just like switches off, like just like. Okay. Well, I mean, not the headset doesn't switch off, but like the screen goes like gray or black or something, and then as soon as I take my hands away, like it goes back again. Also, because my room is a lot smaller and my sensors are much like closer together now, if there are like certain spaces here where I won't get tracked with controllers because it's not an ideal setup. So if I move into those with like one of them, then I can see like the connection starts to like get a little bit more like thickly, like it doesn't get as proper as usual.
Artifact
for the rest.
Exactly. Yeah, like that's what I found. So when I was dipping out of like a weak signal area, it became a little bit pixelated, but it only happened maybe for like a second, and then it was back up and running again, and it only happened twice during my whole playthrough. So
but
it wasn't
like
bad.
I had the same, where it became a little pixelated, but the frame rate and everything was just still running super solid, so you don't really feel or see it. I had like one frame drop when I tested it for the first time in the lab. I played it for like 2 hours, but I'm so impressed. Like 2 years ago, I got my Vive. I played the lab as one of my first experiences. My mind was blown, I can tell you that. And now 2 years later, we have wireless.
Yeah,
it's
time
amazing. Flies. It's amazing that all that computer power just goes through the air into this wireless adapter. I know that sounds like I'm telling it in a very simple way, but that's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Cool. In terms of like playtime, like how long did you find your playtime was lasting with the single battery? Because you only get one battery with this pack, right?
I haven't done a full playtime with it.
Okay.
I'm not. Like it's also kind of risky to do that, right? You don't want to play a game like, oh, hey, power is out. Would it warn you? No,
it doesn't. It doesn't warn you. No,
it doesn't. Oh.
No, it's the same with the TP cast. So when you run out of juice, that's it. The headset just goes black. And I found that I got about 2.5 hours playtime before that happens.
That's pretty good, though.
and then it takes about 6 hours to charge it back up again fully. So if you're really keen on like doing long play sessions, you definitely want to have a second battery, but they cost $60.
Yeah,
for
but
a second
I've actually, because I've been like tweeting about like those batteries as well. I've seen people like tweeting me that you can actually get pretty much the same one, just not with the HTC brand on it, but like from another brand, because I'm pretty sure that HTC just puts their brand on there from like a third party, and they're like $20.
Exactly. Like you can use a third-party battery if it has quick charge 3.0 capability. But I have 2 battery packs here that I use with the TPcast, and both of which aren't compatible with the Vive.
Yeah,
so just be aware of that.
I did see some people doing some research now on batteries. Like I would love to have like maybe a bigger battery, and then with like a 3D printed like a case around it that I could use. I have no problems with that, where it's like a little bigger and it gives me maybe 4 or 5 hours. I would totally wear that, and I think a lot of people will.
But just so people know, these exact batteries with the same size that would fit in this kind of slot, you can find them on Amazon in I believe in the UK and in the US, and also in Canada. Not in that remote place that I live that is called Europe. But yeah,
let me enlight the fire a bit here. Let me just start off. For the same price of a Vive wireless adapter, you could also buy an Oculus Quest.
Yes.
And now there's one thing. Okay, if you already own a Vive, this is an upgrade, and this is also what it is. It's more like an additional upgrade to the people who already own a Vive or Vive Pro. It's not saying like, hey, listen, we have wireless now, you should buy a Vive. Like, that's not the marketing strategy. But just in your tiny minds, that's what you could also do.
Yeah,
it's just funny that for the same price now, things start to change so quickly in terms of hardware and what the capabilities are, etc. Of course, PC is still a different ball game than what the Quest is offering, but we're getting closer.
And we're going to be talking about the Quest in a bit. Like, you jumped the gun a little bit because that was like part of
sorry, Mike. Sorry to ruin your podcast.
Get out. But what I would say is, like, if you're interested in a wireless VR solution, if you've got a Vive or a Vive Pro, this is the only option, really. I wouldn't recommend the TPcast if you've got a Vive. If you've got a Rift, then the TPcast is your only option still. I did actually test it on the TPcast to see if it will work. It just doesn't work, unfortunately. It does power the headset, but the HDMI pass-through just doesn't register. So maybe there'll be a tweak one day for it to work, and then this will be maybe the best wireless solution for the Rift as well. But for now, it's just for the Vive.
What do you mean by that? You tried it on the TPcast. The TPcast as a kind of an intermediary connector?
No, sorry. So I used the cables provided with the TPcast that are connected obviously to the Rift, and I plugged those into the Rift. So that was my plan, to use the same module on my Rift, but that doesn't work. Unfortunately.
Like, is it totally impossible, or will there be some smart person that can maybe do that that hardware or like software wise? And
some smart person out there will probably figure it out, but I'm not that guy.
What Mike is saying is that that smart person is not gonna be him.
Exactly.
It's funny.
If it's not plug and play, I'm not interested. Yeah.
It's funny though that when the Vive wireless adapter released, TPcast was doing a big discount on their stuff. They know. But the thing is, the TPcast, as Mike said, like it worked, and it wasn't bad at all. It's just the how long does it take to set up? How easy is it? Like, is it consumer ready? And with this Vive wireless adapter, we can now say like, hey, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. That's fine. There's not much you can really do wrong in that sense. And that's.
I had a question too, like, because I only messed around with it a couple of times. How do you turn this battery off?
You can't. So basically, you have to disconnect the headset, and then
that's what I had to do. I just found that like a strange thing. Like, why can't I turn the battery off?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because you would think that pushing and holding the battery would turn it off, but it doesn't.
I did.
Yeah, it doesn't do that.
So you need to pull out like the USB all the time. Is that good for a device to just cut the power so quickly?
Yeah, it's fine.
Wait, you don't. Yeah, I don't think that.
Well, with a Vive Pro, you get VIP service anyway.
But you can hot swap batteries in between mid-game sessions, so it's not a problem. The game will just freeze on your desktop. You just can swap the batteries over for your headset. Yeah. But yeah, the one thing I just wanted to touch on before we move on to the Quest is that I noticed today a guy on Twitter called Moik the Squid.
Moik.
Moik.
It's just alter ego for Mike.
And he's been using the Vive wireless adapter on the OG Vive, and he posted a picture where it's actually burnt the top of his head.
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
no.
Yeah. You've not seen this. This is nasty.
he's like a follically challenged bloke like myself, and he posted a picture of like a red patch on his head where it's actually burnt his head. And
wait, I'm gonna find it. I found it.
Is it
Yeah,
safe?
sure. Yeah, so if you search on Twitter, Moike, Moike.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I found it.
Oh, you found it.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so like I asked him a few questions and he hasn't got back to me yet because I was intrigued, because with a kit comes a pad that you have to put underneath the adapter with both the OG Vive and with the Vive Pro. It's a huge one, like it's a huge pad that you put on the back of your head. And I was wondering if he had used that or not, because that pad really sort of prevents any contact with the adapter to your actual scalp. So I wonder if he just completely bypassed that and just put it on the strap, and then maybe it got so hot that it burnt his head. But I still don't really know if that happened or not. So
Wait.
No.
So I thought bald people have telepathy with other bald people. No? I thought you were just able to.
You've been watching the X-Men, right? You know, like with Professor Xavier. Well, it is actually a thing, but like, you know, now that he's burnt, it's going to block the signal going out.
There is like, you don't get a neck cushion, like a head cushion with the Vive wireless adapter with the vanilla version.
You get a really small one.
But maybe it's too small then.
Maybe.
On the other side, maybe I haven't burnt my head with this one yet. So
yeah, but you come back with like singed hair. But it's definitely something we need to investigate.
God, if that happened, I feel like that guy from Home Alone, you know.
There are people in the chat that are wondering why he did not notice it burning him, but I have that same kind of problem. Like, if something is like gradually hurting me, then you tend to like not realize it up until like the point that it's already too late. I have that often with like when I'm doing stuff with because I recently cut myself as well somewhere, didn't realize it up until like I found like blood all over my hand. I was like, when did that happen? But that's a very regular thing that you don't notice it before like it actually is too late. But it's a good question, because I saw that you posted it against him as well, for him as well, like if he actually used the pad, because it's just from the thing heating up. Like it's nothing else, of course, that is causing it. It must be the little plate under there, because it's almost the same shape as well. Like if you see it on his head, on the back of his head, like it's exactly that like contact point. So he was using the original Vive though, so not the Vive Pro.
That's right, and I saw he was using the DAS as well, like the deluxe audio strap, in a previous video he made. But he was saying the reason why he didn't notice it straight away was actually that he's had lots of surgical operations in the past, and why he doesn't feel pain instantly. So there is a reason for that.
Could that
He's
mean
a Bond villain.
Yeah.
Could it be that this small pad is just not filtering enough, or it's not thick enough to do that?
Who knows? Because like these things are only really just being shipped now. Like we got them fairly early in comparison to a lot of consumers out there. So I'm sure if it becomes a problem, it will be widely reported about.
But if he's using the original Vive, he has been using the pad because it comes standard on it, right? Because it's only with the Vive Pro that you need to take it off and put another one on it. So unless he would like actually remove the pad physically, like use the screws to unscrew, but that wouldn't make any sense.
Also, how hot can this thing become, and does it also like turn itself off after a while? Because if people start to use other batteries now that work for like 5-6 hours,
great point,
then I don't know what's gonna happen. Like maybe the whole thing sets fire, and for my video that's kind of fun, by the way.
But that's why I wouldn't recommend like using third-party batteries, because you just never know.
That is true. But this is kind of like, this makes me like, I like the device, but this is kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah, with the same output, it doesn't really matter though.
Go on,
just for my corner of this, because I'm going to repeat a statement that I've mentioned in the past. So you guys seem to have mutually enjoyed the product. You think it's consumer ready. Price point is worth it if you got a Vive, you're a hardcore Vive owner, and you want to kind of play games wirelessly for a couple of hours. Obviously, there's going to be an angry Onward player someday, drop out in the wrong moment and just rip the stuff off his head and throw it through a window. Yeah. But until that day happens, the only thing that I wanted to say about this is, having gotten my degree in electronics, the high bandwidth signals that close to your head, I'm just still
no, Sim, we're not starting this discussion again.
I'm not discussing it. I just need to put it out there for anyone who is in a similar camp to me, who because Nathan pointed it out, right? we can technically do it. Is it safe to technically do it? And we'll find out in time.
I don't know if it's brain ready.
We won't find out in time. We will never find that out in time. Because the sample size will be too small and the amount of time that we have will be too little to figure out if it can actually induce. Because what you're saying, it could cause cancer. But we cannot physically prove, like as a researcher, we cannot physically prove that something like this will be able to cause cancer. It could increase the risk of cancer, but the increasement of risk of cancer will be so small that will not be detectable with our current scientific methods.
And in the time frame that you would even care to pick this thing up.
That's with a lot of things like that. With a lot, it's not only. It's the same way people living under like haywire are like at risk of increased cancer, possibly.
But I think people out there that are concerned about that would automatically be switched off to that idea anyway. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we're running out of time a little bit, so let's go through the Quest specs because Nathan touched on it. You know, this is like a lot of money for the Vive Pro and a wireless adapter, like £1,400 maybe, and you're getting a comparable experience, you know, with the Quest for £400, and that's really amazing. Like, although it won't have the graphical fidelity of a lot of the PC VR games, you're going to have a comparable experience in terms of feeling and the way you move around your play space, which is awesome. And I think that's where the Quest really shines. Obviously, you know, we were all there at OC5 together. You know, it's the first time we've ever done a podcast live together in real life, which was totally freaking awesome. And, you know, it was great. I definitely want to do more of that again if we end up at a show together. I think a lot of people really enjoyed that video as well. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Tyriel Wood, who helped us film that episode because he did a fantastic job of being our cameraman for that episode of the show. Yeah. But let's talk about Quest specs. Obviously, what we know so far, you know, just to go over it again, if you're not familiar with it, it's a completely standalone, all-in-one headset. No PC is required. You'll likely just need a smartphone to manage your applications through a smart app, just like you do with the Oculus Go right now. It's got 6 degrees of freedom head tracking and 2 6 degrees of freedom touch controllers, very similar to the ones that we've got right now on Rift, but they're a little bit lighter and a smaller thumbstick. The headset features 4 wide-angle cameras using the new Oculus Insight technology for inside-out tracking, which is designed for indoor use only, is what Oculus is saying. However, it will exceed room scale. So the kind of dreams of us going out in a field and going crazy in VR, we're not quite sure if that's going to work or not, but we'll have to wait until we get our hands on it. The optics from the Go have been carried over to the Quest. So you've got the great optics from the Go because they are really great. But now you've got adjustable IPD thrown into the mix as well, which is awesome.
Great.
You've got the same 110-degree field of view as Rim Go on Quest. However, it's at a slightly higher resolution panel, which is higher than the Go, higher than the Rift, and actually the same resolution as the Vive Pro at 6 by 1440 pixels per eye. Which is great for a mobile device. And although, like I said before, you won't get the graphical fidelity of a Vive Pro or a Samsung Odyssey, it won't look as detailed in VR, but it's running on that higher resolution, which makes it look crisper and more vibrant because it's using an OLED panel as well. And that's going to be running at 72 Hertz, which is the same refresh rate as the Go when it boosts up in some games.
We got Eric Hartley saying that it's a 95-degree field of view.
It's 95-degree field of view.
That's what
think
Eric
so.
said in the chat just now. 95 people. There are other people saying it as well. So 95. Maybe
it is.
Also, the two controls are 6 degrees of freedom, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Of
I
course.
thought you said 2. That's fine.
It's not something that I noticed, particularly when we demoed it, that there was a reduced field of view.
I believe
Definitely
it.
not.
From my demo, I'd believe it if they were saying it's slightly restricted.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
95. Yeah, I'll look into that after the show.
Not a huge difference of gradation if you think about it. I mean, you're really talking about your periphery. But the package as a whole, right? I mean, going through the specs there just reminds me, it's a great package. I think they've engineered a solution and cornered this part of the market. Like every other mobile, even standalone or 3DoF or 6DoF headset, I don't think it stands a chance against this thing. And the other thing that I would just mention, so that people don't get too crazy and kind of misplace their expectations. Like they're touting it as a Go that's mobile, but you're not going to have, you know, a 1080 or even a 970 driving it. Like the processor that's inside it is going to limit what kind of games can be on there, or there'll be stripped down versions of games to go on there.
Yeah,
I still think it's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I think the library and the catalog and what developers bring to it, I'm super excited for. Definitely bought into it. You know, haven't played the thing. but I think there is this expectation that's growing out there that's a little bit like Quest is Rift wireless, you know, and it's not quite at that level. It's more like Go plus.
Yeah,
wireless.
right.
Yeah, so like you're right. The processor that's running this thing is like a Snapdragon 835 processor, which is, you know, a modest processor, but it's a mobile processor. So like, you know, you're not going to be able to push the graphics. But from what we've seen in the talks at OC5 is that they're teaching developers how to make their games more efficient on this mobile platform, you know, with texture mapping and baked in lighting effects rather than dynamic stuff. You can make a game look really good on this mobile headset. So the games will look good, but they just won't have the fidelity of a PC VR game, you know.
Yeah.
But from the Quest that we've seen at the show floor, it's a 64 gig internal storage, although larger capacity models might be available when it comes to launch. It's got active cooling internally, which is great to hear. So, you know, it doesn't use like the same thermal plate design like the Go does, you know, to get rid of to dissipate the heat. It uses a fan, which is cool. Although you might be able to hear that, which might be a bit annoying, but we certainly didn't notice that on the show floor. It's got built-in spatial audio, same as the Go, down the sort of head straps, and also the option for 2 headphone jacks. That's the most curious thing I've seen about the design. Why it has 2 headphone jacks, one on each side. So when we asked them,
the product manager actually mentioned it was for future audio solutions. So some
right. See, we hypothesized about that. Remember, Mike?
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Also, it's got like a mixed reality pass-through using the sort of Insight technology. It's kind of like a white background with sort of black sort of cartoon style edges.
It's like what Caleb said, right? Remember what
Take
he
on
said?
Me video.
Yeah,
like the AHA Take on Me video. It looks identical practically. Yeah, so it's a way to describe it for sure. The things we don't know is obviously we don't know about battery life yet. Although, you know, my prediction was about this kind of right angle connector they showed in the patent design, which would make sense to run straight down to a battery pack that you could wear on your waist, a bit like the Vive Pro wireless adapter battery pack. You know, it's relatively light. You could put it anywhere and you wouldn't necessarily notice it. And it would just get more playtime out of the headset, which I think would be a great solution. We know that it's going to have 50 plus games at launch, including exclusive titles such as Vader Immortal, which is going to be really interesting, especially if they start pushing out exclusive titles just for Quest. I know that's going to upset Rift owners, but it's a good way to bring new people onto the platform, I think. And also the interesting thing I noticed, because I watched the Carmack talk after the event, because we were so busy at the show floor, I didn't get to watch it there and then, but I watched it afterwards. We're saying that the Quest store is going to be much stricter in terms of the quality barrier. You know, a bit like what PlayStation are doing right now. They're not letting just anyone publish a PSVR application. They're really strict about that. They're going to be vigorously reviewing the app. So, you know, if you're really a great title and it's AAA quality, then you're going to get through. But a lot of the shovelware that we're seeing on Go right now just isn't going to get through the gates, which I'm happy about, to be honest. I think more is less in terms of the.
Yeah, but is that because of the Quest, or just because it's now a wireless thing, you know, where they need to play on safe in certain ways because they don't want people to have an unsafe experience?
I think also
why would they now suddenly fight like shovelware? I think it's only to kind of keep
the same reason that PlayStation is doing it, because they're reaching to a much bigger market now.
Yeah, and I think like I'd rather have less quality titles than more titles where and on the Go right now, you know, you look at the weekly releases, like most of that stuff is just pure crap, you know. And just
we'll see. I'm curious because I know that Jason Rubin said that with the Rift, where he was really, you know, we're gonna quality patrol the whole thing. Also didn't really happen, so we'll see. I don't know what Oculus sets as a standard, you know, for them. Like what is for them shovelware.
Also Jim Hall made a very good point in the chat. He said technically it's not 50 games, there are 50 titles, and not all of them will probably be games, which is true.
Yeah, well, same with the Go. Like 360s were also a part of that. Like
45 360-degree experiences and 5 quality games.
Touch on what Sim said, and I think that's the most interesting part right now, since it's not out yet, and a lot of people have just heard about it and read the articles. People don't know where to place this device. A lot of people, I also have seen them talk about the Quest in a way where it's like, hey, this is closer to the Rift, and it's almost like you don't need to buy a Rift anymore because the Quest is. There's still a big gap between that, but maybe
But
it needs to be out first to kind of
But
straight.
I think it's like
difference.
what we said in the last podcast. This is like the console experience for virtual reality. That's how I see it. Like just like the PlayStation VR is also like a console experience, but even less than, because you still need to buy the console itself. But this is like an all-in-one kind of device, on which is a gaming device, which you can have 6 degrees of freedom in your controllers, on your headset. It's the console kind of experience. And the step beyond that is always going to be like a PC focused experience, like the Vive or like the Rift. I also believe that the processor in the Oculus Quest is the same as the one in the Samsung S8, if I remember correctly. So it's like a generation
that sounds
before.
right.
I think it's something like that.
It seems to me like almost like a push, like what Nintendo would do. Like this, I equate the Quest to like almost a Nintendo push, because you're going to get interesting experiences you can't get anywhere else on equipment that isn't. It's not like breaking, it's not breaking barriers with the CPU or any of that kind of stuff. But the combination of the assets all together in one engineered product, I think, is going to give you some gaming experiences you can't get elsewhere. One thing I think that's going to piss people off, and I'm only kind of taking this from what they did with the Go. I think it's going to be independently licensed. So if you have a title on the Go, so say I own Thumper on Oculus Home, and I own it on the Go, I think I'm going to also have to own it on this device. And the one thing I have to beg Oculus to get right in this is, please allow some kind of cloud backup or migration. Because if you, with the larger storage volume, I think we heard that this was going to be 64 starting, with larger volumes of storage on the equipment. Like if you build up a game library and you're playing away with it, right? You want to be able to back that up if you need to move to another set of hardware. And at the moment on the Go, your Go traps things, and if your Go gets screwed, that's it. Your game files are gone.
Yeah, I agree, but it depends. I think most of the users they have right now just own one thing. They bought a Go or they maybe bought a Rift.
Sure.
But
like Zim
you
says,
can't back it up.
Own everything. It's like, I own everything and I want to have everywhere.
No, but like if Zim, like Zim said though, like if his headset is damaged or gets broken by the sun, then that's the problem he's having. Not being able to get.
I think he was talking about the licensing piece, right? So he was saying, the compartmentalization of the licenses for most people right now is not a problem when they're trying to get 1 billion people into headsets.
Although I think Oculus do sort of support that idea, and I think what they didn't really answer the question. They kind of said that it was up to the developers' discretion. So say if you bought, like you say, like Climb on Rift, that you might be able to get it on Quest, but it's up to them at the end of the day. It wouldn't make sense.
That's more something for the next generation. I mean, we have seen that with PlayStation going to 4. I don't think that's gonna happen for now. They like the main focus of Oculus is to get everyone a VR headset, and if that's a Go, Quest, or something else, and if people want to buy more, that's fine too. But I think that their main audience right now just owns one of the two for now, and
they're gonna reach a much bigger market with the Quest, just because the price is so much lower and it's a full-on VR experience. And I think that's what they're going for, not to appease all the people that already have a Rift or already have a Vive or already. Well, if you have a Go, I can still, like I said, I see the Go as a completely different device. It's more like something that I would watch a movie on, something I would go and travel with, something that I would take to work and show people there. But the Quest, I still don't see it as like a device that I would travel with, even though it's wireless. But more like, like the console that you have in your house to play VR with.
Although I do believe that everything that you can do on the Go right now, you'll be able to do in the Quest, because it's built on the same platform.
But it's just not as portable.
So, no. So all the social stuff I'm talking about that's exclusive to Go that you can't do on Rift, I mean, like, Oculus Homes and all that kind of stuff will be available on Quest.
Yeah.
So I think if you're in the mindset of like, do I buy a Go or do I buy a Quest? Well, it depends. Like, the Go is more sort of like they said in the keynote, 80% media, 20% gaming. The Quest is more sort of 80% gaming, 20% media. So it all kind of depends on your preference of what you want to do with this headset.
Yeah, makes sense.
But obviously, we know it's going to be shipping in spring 2019, so that makes it around sort of March, April time, $399 all in. So I wonder if is there any specs that I missed out? Anything you think that you should throw into the mix before we round today's show up? But to be honest, I think it's a no-brainer. This headset is going to be a fantastic headset for people, like you say that, and I know people as well. Like, I've been involved in VR for a while now, but even like my best friends, outside of VR, that they still not interested in VR. I show them how awesome it is, But it's a headset like this that they're thinking $400. That's actually not bad. You know, they're the one. This is the headset that's really turned their head, and they're sort of traditional gamers. You know, you could call them.
I think we're getting close. I don't think this is the one that will, like, there's, I don't know, like, it's a certain type of people that just want to pay like just $50 and then they
yeah, but that, I mean, you have those people always, like, I mean,
like,
you can maybe buy like a PlayStation 2 now for like $50, like, you know, like, it's not very, like, I just came back from first look, and there were people standing in line for 3 hours to try the Arizona Sunshine Arena experience. So I mean, and that's just in Utrecht, you know, a small little city in Holland, in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So there is definitely an interest.
They really want to, like, of course they're interested in the tech, but what I heard at Gamescom, like, a lot of people tried all kinds of headsets, but it doesn't seem to sell just yet. Where it's like, okay, I had a fun experience there. That's where I can try it for free, but they don't feel like they want more of it. And yeah, if the Quest can deliver that,
and that's why they're making Vader Immortal exclusive to the Quest.
That's an interesting system seller for sure. There's one more thing that I did hear on the show floor of Connect, that it needs certain lighting conditions to work properly. I'm not sure if this is just a C-man story, but you do have to play it at the right moment. If it's too dark, it might have some issues tracking your...
Interesting.
I don't know if that's...
We played Face Your Fears, and it was in a darkened room. It wasn't pitch black, but it was a darkened room.
Yeah, well, that's where most of those stories also came from in that sense.
Yeah, it is interesting, though. I did read that spec, and yeah, it caused me a little bit of concern, because it's like, right, then again, if you're all into this headset and you're roaming around, it's probably good that you got some light casted on your body, so someone doesn't like run into you and you don't run into them.
The mixed reality headsets had the same issue, so yeah, if you put on some lights, then it should be fine.
But also one thing to note is as well, and it's a question that keeps on popping up, is that this headset isn't going to be able to tether to your PC for Rift experiences.
Yeah.
You know,
they confirmed it, right?
They confirmed it, but they did give a little tease to something else in Carmack's speech, and that was that they are testing wireless connection.
Yeah, streaming.
But they can't promise anything, and I think it's unlikely. It would be a strange move for them, I think.
But then you go too much to PC, and then you also the Quest too big in a way where people don't have to like buy the Rift anymore, and you have to keep that ecosystem alive.
I think it's better to separate it. You got mobile, you got the one in the middle, which is for gamers, and then you've got Rift for high end. I prefer it that way.
Someone is gonna hack it though. We'll see. I mean,
for sure.
You can also use your PlayStation VR headset to play PC games. That's possible too. So,
but it's an Android device, so you can break into these things like Rowdy knows. You know, they're not secure as
you can do everything with those kind of devices, on the contrary to like all those other things out there on the market, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to crash.
It would be kind of cool, like side loading your apps on the Quest.
Yeah. So let's round the show up, because we've gone on for long enough now.
We got a couple of good questions.
Okay, go on. We can answer some.
No. We finish it up and we'll do the questions then.
Okay, so just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Check out the audio version on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. Fire away, Rowdy.
Wow, that was. I wasn't expecting it to go that smoothly.
I got it right as well.
We got actually a question. Wait, I need to look it up again here. From Chris Richardson. Did you guys like the Dead and Buried experience better than the Void?
Hard question. They're really neck and neck.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, exactly. Because like having 6 people and all being playing in the same play space was just that next level. And for a mobile device to be able to do that, again, next level.
I disagree.
But
I think the Void is still way better experience, just because of, you know, all of the peripherals, you know, you have the heat, all that kind of stuff. It's something that you can't try in your living room. I still see myself packing boxes and stacking them all aside, try to align them perfectly, just to have like a game night together with like 6 of my friends and do the Quest experience. I still see myself doing that. Something that I did in the Void, that's something I just can't do at home unless I buy like, I don't know, like lava lamps.
It's like a cinema experience, isn't it,
yeah,
Rowdy?
Exactly.
It's literally like you're in a film, you feel the heat of the lava, all that kind of stuff. I agree. But the one thing that if I had to make a tiebreaker, I'd lean toward Void. I love the Quest, but I'd lean toward Void because of the finger tracking. I don't know how they did it, but the finger tracking was so cool.
There's a big
I was like
issue.
high-fiving all my buddies, and we're all like, yeah!
There's a big issue with the finger tracking though as well, and I didn't think of it, but it was actually Viper and Radar had to pointed it out. So like, you know, the entire time we were just putting each other's hands in each other's face, so that means that the hand of the person would actually like pop up, and you could like take his hand and just steal it, and you couldn't use it anymore in the game, which I didn't think of at all. But that's what they were doing the entire time when they were playing it.
I honestly, the start of the Dead and Buried Arena where it transforms and you see your friends and you're challenging. If I could put that in the Void and then have the rest of the Void experience, fine. Like the actual gameplay of Dead and Buried, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really feel it that much, but the Void in that sense was great. So yeah, it's like both of them have their plus and minus points.
You just Kobayashi Maru that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
he's like, I'll just take some of that, and just patch it together.
We got Jim Hall also. I think what he wants is a comparison between the Quest and the Vive adapter. But again, I don't think that. I think we all agree on that. You know, it's a different kind of thing, like completely. Yeah, First off, it's much more expensive, and second off, it's still PSVR that you're playing on. So it's.
But ultimately, being wireless and having a VR headset on is freaking epic.
Of course.
I can't wait for those comparisons.
Stefan Anderson is asking us, can they do a Stormland version for the Quest? Maybe, with simple shell shaded-ish graphics.
No way.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Not going to fly. Too heavy.
Having played that game, like, it looks gorgeous, and like the mechanics in it, very, very detailed environments, very deep mechanics as well. There's just no way I don't think they can do that.
Yeah. We got Paradise Decay. Sorry.
It's quite good. You know, say on Stormland, the ability you can fly around these like weird looking clouds and the way you rip your arm off. And the best part for me was the grenades. You like tap this little like thermal detonator grenade, and you roll it off and it just explodes. The one thing I wish they missed out on, I wish I could just do it with my forehead. Anyway. I got to write those devs before the game releases. Yeah. I will do that.
Okay, one more before we go. If there's one more.
We got Paradise Decay asking, Mike, did you eat all of your pepper nuts?
I haven't, no, because I've only just got back. I have been getting through them a little bit though, enjoying them like a little bit at a time. I don't want to like just give myself diabetes straight away, so I'm just slowly, going through them. Because only batch. These are the only ones I've got, so I've got to ration them. So there we have it. VR and pepper nuts, all in one show. What more could you ask for? So I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this episode of the show. Have a great week in VR. We'll be back as always next week. We're back on track now. The usual schedule. So have a great week and we'll see you then. So bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.